Are you familiar with the concept of the Grail watch? The one watch you hope to add to your collection one day when money is no object and the world is your oyster, but which is always just out of reach. The wristwatch you would give up everything else for if given the chance. Of course, we're just as fond of lofty goals as the next person, so we figured it would be nice to compile a list of sorts of the top Grail watches available today that are, of course, relatively affordable. Let us first note that the term Grail watch is interpreted differently by various collectors. A Seiko monster, which may be bought for several $100s, may be considered by some watch collectors to be the Holy Grail. Many people's dream watch is a Rolex Submariner that costs around $10,000. We're not here to pass judgment or act as a gatekeeper for the watch community, so either of these watches may easily be considered a Holy Grail by anyone. For the sake of this video though, we'll go with the traditional definition of a Grail watch, a watch so rare, valuable or extravagant that the odds of ever laying hands on one are slim to none. But hey, isn't it great to have wild fantasies every once in a while? These are some of the best Grail watches. Rolex Daytona 116506. Let's start off with a long-time superstar, the Rolex Daytona. It's the only one practically hard to obtain and costs over $75,000. Yes, it's that expensive. A true piece of art. This version of the Crown's famous racing chronograph features a platinum case and bracelet, a brown ceramic bezel insert, and an ice blue dial, making it the most stunning reference of the Daytona since the discontinued iced-out Rainbow Daytona a few years ago. In the case of the Rolex Cosmograph Daytona 116506, you'll find the in-house produced Rolex Caliber 4130 automatic chronograph movement, which has been certified as a chronometer by the Swiss organization. Like all Rolex watches, there is nothing on the back of this one either. Now, it may sound strange on paper, but we can all agree that this new addition to Daytona's roster is sure to turn heads. Next is the A Lange und Sonne Zeitwerk Honey Gold Lumen. Now folks, every timepiece produced by the German icon A Lange und Sonne deserves to be called a Grail watch, as is the case with many of the brands we discuss. But this brand's newest offering is especially worthy of the title. The lumen treatment makes the numbers of the movement discs light behind a smoky sapphire dial, and the casing is crafted from the brand's stunning unique honey gold alloy. Together, these elements make this reference the newest in the modern classic Zeitwerk line. Noted for its unusual display, including both jumping hour and minute displays, it's like a high-tech, illuminating mechanical wristwatch, and it's too cool. Now, we had to include a 60s diver watch, the Tudor Royal Day-Date. Rolex and Tudor are two very similar cousins. They are both cool, smart, and beautiful. So while the Black Bay, being cousin A, is great and we love it, if you're looking for an approachable timepiece with a tone of history, the Royal Date is the way to go. While the bezel is decidedly retro, the bracelet is only mildly so, improving the aesthetic marginally but not substantially. Could be achieved by giving the center links a matte surface instead of the existing shiny one. The bracelet's material attributes, however, are not hidden. Even the central connections, which are quite slim, are quite robust. It was a perfect match for the Black Bay's single-fold clasp, which serves the same purpose. The dials err on the side of caution with their big Roman numerals and baton hands. It gets the job done, but it's not exactly riveting. The dial, like the rest of the watch, is uncomplicated yet well executed, which is especially impressive given the watch's price tag of around US $2,400. Then we've got the Tissot Gentleman. The Tissot Gentleman, with its design reminiscent of a famous Grail, but its unique qualities, is enticing. You can see right away that it was made in Switzerland, making it a strong contender for the all-for-one watch position. You can go for the tried and true all-black aesthetic, but we're hedging our bets on the more fashionable blue. You can switch things up by switching out the bracelet for one made of leather. But even without that, the bracelet's perfect balance appeals to both our inner rake and skater boy. It costs about $710, one of the cheapest of Grail watches. Then of course there's Blancpain 50 Fathoms Tourbillon 8 Jewels. Blancpain's 50 Fathoms is already a worthy grail, but the world's oldest watch manufacturer has drawn on its other half, the high horology side of the business, to transform their flagship diver into something amorous yet awesome. This iteration of the classic sports watch is constructed of solid gold and features an in-house 8-day tourbillon movement and power reserve indicator for use while diving to the bottom of the Mediterranean. This piece is about to descend upon your watch collection as a timepiece that is both practical and horologically, well, excellent thanks to its technical complexity and sporty dive watch elements evident in the design of the hour markers, hands and bezel. It costs $132,500, so let's call this one relatively affordable. Next is the Seiko Presage. Most of you will be able to spot a Seiko's diver watch from a mile away, but there's a place in our hearts that belongs to the Presage collection. The mesmerizing effect of an open heart movement is a hallmark of Heuer horology, and as such comes at a considerable price. This 40.5-inch timepiece is tuxedo appropriate thanks to its matching blue leather strap and a window into the movement's inner workings at 9 o'clock. It can be yours for a little over $508. Now let's talk about the Breguet Tradition 7047. But let's begin with its history. In 1801, Abraham Louis Breguet, the company's namesake and namesake inventor, developed the anti-gravity escapement that makes possible the tourbillon. Considering that several of the timepieces here have tourbillons, it seems fitting to feature a holy grail from the company that pioneered the technology. The 7047 is part of Breguet's Tradition collection, inspired by the efforts of the brand's first master horologist. The Fusee, a form of regular system based on chains and pulleys that is half a millennium old and almost impossible to produce, is combined within the watch's tourbillon, apart from Breguet, of course. It costs $158,589. Alright, it's time to include one of our absolute favourites, the Patek Philippe 5270p Perpetual Calendar Chronograph. This little video certainly wouldn't be complete without us discussing the most revered high-end watchmaker in the world. But while Patek's Nautilus may be the brand's most well-known timepiece at the moment, we think that the Perpetual Calendar chronographs have been the brand's crowning achievement for the better part of a century. This version of the classic's Grand Complications watch is the most up-to-date of the 5270 generation, and it features a platinum casing and a fashionable emerald green dial to showcase its bewildering array of beautiful complications. Finally, it can be yours for $211,721. Now, we just had to include this one, the MB and FLM Thunderdome. Why? When it comes to high-end timepieces, the 18th and 19th centuries are when the majority of the industry's most prestigious names made their names in the marketplace. However, there are a few up-and-coming brands that pose a real threat to the Pateks and the APs of the world. These brands were created by visionary watchmakers and have quickly risen to prominence. Maximilien Besseur's MB&F is one such firm, and its time machines are among the most novel and outlandish available. The Thunderdome from the brand's traditionalist Legacy Machines line is a fan favourite. The watch has a patented triax escapement that spins at 3 different speeds at once, showing that its designers think tourbillons are for squares. Just see it working without trying to analyse it, you'd be blown away. Now folks, let's review the Grand Seiko Kodo Constant Force Tourbillon. It is necessary that we do. Grand Seiko sought to prove to the Swiss luxury watch industry that Japan is just as capable in the field of horology during its first visit to Geneva's Watches and Wonders in 2022, and the gamble paid off as the company took home the most talked about timepiece at the event. Interestingly, the Kodo is the most complex mechanical watch Seiko's luxury division has ever produced, and it's also the first wristwatch to incorporate a tourbillon and a constant force mechanism on a single axis. The watch's name comes from the Japanese word for heartbeat, and it refers to the distinctive and aesthetically attractive sound produced by the unique escapement, which features 2 different beat rates. 8 ticks per second for the tourbillon, and 1 tick per second for the CFM. Everything about this is finished so beautifully that it is like seeing poetry in action. And no, we aren't exaggerating.